Surely you know that saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, nature takes it to the extreme, proving that you don't always have to overcomplicate things to succeed. And it does so with an evolutionary show that's truly hat-off worthy. Animals, those masters of adaptation, refine themselves over time to become the bosses of their turf. But if there's an ace up the sleeve in this game of life, it's convergent evolution. Picture penguins and dolphins, two animals that have never crossed paths, not even by chance, gliding through the seas with bodies so streamlined they look like they came out of the same design workshop. Related? Not a chance. Each one figured out on its own how to turn itself into a feathered or fin torpedo, just because both thought, if I'm going to rule the water, I'll do it with style. That's convergent evolution. If the trick works, why change it? And it doesn't stop there. Take eyes, for example. Insects and mammals without a single cousin in common, both scoping out the world with their own versions of natural lenses. When you start snooping around the planet's creatures, you notice that many share reasonable similarities. But sometimes, nature gets carried away, and two critters with no family ties end up looking like carbon copies. A killer example? Legless lizards and snakes. They seem like twins who could impersonate each other, but their last family reunion was over 100 million years ago. That's more time than separates humans from cats, and we don't even smell alike. This isn't some modern invention, mind you. Convergent evolution has been flipping somersaults since the days when dinosaurs ruled the roost. That's why some modern animals look like they stepped out of a time tunnel, as if prehistory decided to take a stroll into the present. In short, it's the closest thing to a time machine with legs. And no plugs required. Get ready to meet the quirkiest cousin in the crocodile family, Stomatosuchus, a whale-like crocodile species that strutted its scales through the late Cretaceous, sharing the neighborhood with the imposing Spinosaurus. But don't picture this croc lounging on the shore like its modern relatives, because this guy lived life on his own terms, and boy, was it unique. Imagine a throat with a giant elastic pouch that looked like a sack, and with one swift move, zap! It snatched up fish and even whole sharks like an underwater vacuum cleaner. Sound familiar? Yep, it was like a filter-feeding whale or a pelican in action, but with a sinister twist. While whales use baleen and pelicans an empty beak, Stomatosuchus had a surprise. Hundreds of tiny teeth that, when it shut its mouth, interlocked like a deadly zipper. If you got caught in that trap, there was no way out. And it wasn't just its hunting technique that made it seem like an ocean giant. This whale wannabe crocodile grew up to 10 meters of pure muscle and scales, making it one of the titans of the water in its day. Imagine swimming in a prehistoric river and bumping into this monster. Sadly, though, this wild experiment of nature didn't have a happy ending. Stomatosuchus vanished from the scene millions of years ago, leaving whale crocs as a distant memory and ensuring we won't see them today gulping down prey like living vacuum cleaners in the Amazon or the Nile. But don't be fooled. This game of copycats wasn't limited to the water. While the ocean seemed like a parade of imitators we'll tell you more about later, the land had its share of suspicious lookalikes too. Evolution never took a break, and similarities between creatures kept popping up, even among giants. If there's one thing evolution has taught us about herbivores, it's that sometimes the best defense is a good offense. Charge first, figure it out later. And there's no better example of this philosophy than elephants. And a creature so ancient, it makes mammals look like newcomers. Placerius. This extinct dicynodont, roaming North America's Triassic period about 230 million years ago, was like the prehistoric granddaddy of elephants, sporting a pair of tusks that screamed, "Don't mess with me." Sure, other members of its family had tusks too, but Placerius took the prize for originality. Its tusks were longer, pointed downward, and served as multi-purpose tools, much like modern elephants. Digging a hole? Done. Striking an intimidating pose? Check. Smacking an enemy? You bet. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe. We have set the goal of reaching 10,000 subscribers before the first half of this year, and with your support, we can achieve it. Join this community and let's make this channel grow together. Here's the curious part. Just like elephants, this guy showed sexual dimorphism. The males flaunted big, flashy tusks, perfect for impressing or fighting if needed, while the females kept theirs more understated. But don't picture Placerius as some towering giant. Weighing in at a ton, it was smaller than a modern elephant. Even so, in its time, it was the king of herbivores, much like elephants are today. Now here's the fun twist. Its weight puts it closer to a hippo than an elephant, and scientists think it shared some traits with these aquatic tanks too. Imagine a weird hybrid: elephant tusks, a sturdy hippo-like body, a strong neck, and legs ready to wade through shallow waters or splash along the shores while happily tearing up vegetation. Coincidence? Not a chance. Some prehistoric elephants, like the flat-trunked Platybelodon, also look like they came from a hippo-elephant mashup. But back to our star, Plesarias, a reptile with a mammal's attitude, lived its best life as an amphibious tank millions of years before elephants even dreamed of existing. It's as if nature said, "I'm going to test out this charge and tusk design, then perfect it later." And boy, did it work. Plesarias ruled its world until time, and probably some changes left it behind. But this tale of reckless charging doesn't end here. Evolution loves repeating its hits, and this pre-mammal elephant is just one more proof that when it comes to survival, sometimes you've got to strap on the tusks and dive in head first. What other wild example awaits us? Let's keep exploring. Dinosaurs and mammals, you might not think of similarities right off the bat, but wait until you meet ankylosaurs and armadillos, two creatures that seem to have attended the same evolutionary design school despite being separated by millions of years and having no close kinship. At first glance, you might say, nah, they don't look alike, but take a closer look and you'll realize it's as if nature used the same blueprint for both. They both ended up sporting full-body armor, ready to face any threat like living tanks. And if we play with history a bit and bring extinct armadillos into the mix, things get even wilder. Let's talk about glyptodonts, for instance. These giant armadillos were like ankylosaur stunt doubles in a prehistoric movie. Some grew so large they'd outsize a small car, and they came equipped with tails straight out of a medieval arsenal. Picture Dodocurus, a South American armadillo from the Pliocene and Holocene, wielding a massive spiked tail that worked like a living wrecking ball. It could pulverize bones like it was nothing. This armored design wasn't just for show. It let them survive for ages, shrugging off all sorts of dangers until humans arrived in South America and, well, it seems the party ended there for them. But armadillos aren't the only mammals that looked at ankylosaurs and said, "I want to be like that." Enter the pangolin, that oddball that looks like a pine cone with legs. This mammal developed keratin scales so tough and well-fitted that it echoes certain ankylosaurs with their extensive armor, though without the finishing touch of a tail club. It's as if nature said, if there's danger, slap on some armor and forget about running. And it makes sense, doesn't it? When the world is full of teeth and claws, sometimes the best move is to turn yourself into a walking fortress and let the trouble bounce off you. So, from ankylosaurs strutting among dinosaurs to armadillos and pangolins facing the modern world, this story teaches us that extreme defense is a winning recipe, no matter the era. What can we dive into next? Because with evolution, you never know, but one thing's for sure. Nature loves repeating its best tricks. And speaking of that, get ready for a story that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but is entirely real. Dolphins and ichthyosaurs, two creatures that could pass for distant cousins at an underwater family reunion. These two swimming icons, one happily cruising our modern oceans, the other ruling the Mesozoic seas, took evolution to a level of similarity that leaves you speechless. While plenty of marine animals have tweaked their bodies to slice through water like arrows, dolphins and ichthyosaurs went all in and ended up so alike that ichthyosaurs earned the nickname Mesozoic dolphins. And we're not talking about a superficial resemblance. These two shared over 20 traits that would make any biologist giddy like a kid in a candy store. Elongated fingers morphed into perfect flippers, stretched frontal skulls as if they'd gone to the same designer, short necks, and even live births. Yep, ichthyosaurs didn't lay eggs like proper reptiles. They gave birth to swim-ready babies. Their skin was smooth like a dolphin's, and they likely rocked a similar look. Dark on top to blend with the seafloor and light underneath to throw off predators from the depths. But hold on, it gets even wilder. Did you know ichthyosaurs had blubber? That fat layer we associate with whales and dolphins? Yep, a coat of fat that kept them toasty in icy waters. Something super rare for reptiles and far more typical of marine mammals. And if you think that's it, buckle up. Their senses were next level too. With big, powerful eyes, they could see in the dim glow of the deep or under-crushing ocean pressure, while their dense, massive ears picked up every sound like they had built-in sonar. Sound familiar? You got it, just like the dolphins we know today. Ichthyosaurs hit the scene in the early Triassic, about 250 million years ago, and took their final bow 90 million years ago, leaving behind a 150 million year legacy with a slew of different species. Not all of them were perfect dolphin clones, of course, but one group took the resemblance prize, Ophthalmosaurus. These guys were so close in size and shape that if you saw them swimming underwater today, you might yell, "Look, a dolphin!" only to realize you just waved at a prehistoric reptile. The result? An evolutionary coincidence so mind-blowing it feels like a magic trick from nature. And though their similarity is incredible, the story doesn't end here, because there's another pair waiting for you to meet them. Now, let's talk about a creature that looked like a crocodile. Armored body, long snout like a lethal weapon, sharp teeth primed for attack, short legs, and a tail that could double as a boat rudder. But it's not a crocodile. Meet the phytosaur, a master of disguise that hit the scene about 196 million years before true crocodiles even existed. This reptile belongs to the Archosauromorpha group, a family that includes distant cousins like dinosaurs and crocodiles, but is further removed from lizards and snakes. And here's the funny part. Despite phytosaurs looking like crocodiles straight out of a mold, they're not close relatives. It's as if humans went to a family reunion with kangaroos and realized we're closer to a dinosaur than to them. In fact, other reptiles like Eddosaurus or Shuvosaurus have tighter ties to crocodiles than these imposters. So why do phytosaurs mirror crocodiles so perfectly? Simple, because their semi-aquatic killing machine design is an absolute winner. With armored bodies, snouts tailor-made for snagging prey, cone-shaped teeth, low-slung legs for stealthy gliding, and tails that turn them into expert swimmers, these guys lived a life any crocodile would envy. But if you think that's the weirdest twist, hold on tight because the award for unexpected look-alike goes to another contender, Ambulocetus, a whale in the making. About 47 million years ago, this amphibious oddball was like the quirky cousin you're not sure whether to hug or avoid. It wasn't a deep-sea swimmer, but a shore-stalking transitional creature evolving from land to water. And guess what? It resembled a crocodile more than the modern whales we know. Scientists say this proto-whale hung out near the surface, with eyes perched atop its head like a lurking crocodile, waiting to pounce on big prey. With massive jaws, it dragged them underwater or tore them apart without mercy. Its nasal cavity, reinforced with bone, let it breathe while doing its dirty work, just like a crocodile. Strip away the fur and a few details, and it's as if a mammal said, "I'm going to be the crocodile of the block." So between phytosaurs dressed up as crocodiles and whales playing swamp predator, nature shows us that the crocodile model is a timeless classic that never goes out of style. What's next? Rhinos, those horned tanks that first roamed Asia before conquering the world with their massive bodies and straight spear-like horns, perfect for delivering earth-shaking blows. It's no surprise this design was an evolutionary hit, showing up in animals like ceratopsians, those horned dinosaurs that use them to show off, defend themselves, or just intimidate everyone else. But hold on, because the weirdest rhino copycat doesn't come from the dinosaur era. It's a South American mammal. Meet Toxodon. This creature is a walking mystery. Its body had the build and proportions of a rhino through and through, so much so that before they found its horn, some paleontologists looked at its bones and thought it was a lost rhinoceros. But here's the shocker. It wasn't a rhino, and it lived in South America, a place real rhinos never reached. Toxodon evolved to fill the gap, looking like a perfect stunt double, while actual rhinos were busy in Asia or Africa. It appeared about 11 million years ago and stuck around until just 4 million years ago, overlapping with the rhino era as if nature thought, let's make a tropical rhino, but with a twist. And that twist was its home, a sprawling mega wetland packed with rivers, lakes, and tons of water. A wild, soggy place where it likely used its horn to defend itself or impress, just like its distant counterparts. Though its closest living relatives are in the group that includes rhinos, perissodactyls. Toxodon belonged to the Notungulates, an extinct club that roamed Earth for over 60 million years and spawned more than 150 distinct genera. So it's no wonder it didn't just resemble rhinos, but also had other lookalikes in its family tree. So here we have Toxodon, a South American rhino imposter strutting through prehistoric wetlands while real rhinos didn't even know that continent existed. Nature keeps surprising us, so keep your eyes peeled for the next unexpected duo. Buckle up, because we're diving into the Cretaceous to meet a true ocean rebel. If you thought manta rays were the only winged-style queens of the water, Aquilolamna is here to show you that nature has more tricks up its sleeve than you can imagine. This bizarre prehistoric hybrid, swimming in the warm waters of what's now Mexico, was like a fusion of a shark and a manta ray. The result? A creature with massive wing-like fins that showed up tens of millions of years before modern manta rays. But don't be fooled by those wing-like features. Aquilolamna wasn't a manta ray in disguise. While rays belong to the exclusive Miliobatiformes club, this quirky character was a lamid shark, more closely related to the fearsome great white or the colossal megalodon than any ray. And though its fins might make you think it glided gracefully like a manta, its style was all its own. Picture a torpedo with wings. Its long, streamlined body was built to slice through water like a knife, and instead of flapping like rays, it powered itself with a mighty tail. Those fins weren't just for show. They acted as perfect gliders, letting it soar through the ocean with the finesse of a seasoned pilot, conserving energy while it hunted. And speaking of food, this shark wasn't one to rip prey apart with razor-sharp teeth. It had evolved to filter feed, scooping up tiny marine treats just like modern manta rays. This clever design was a smashing success in its time. Effortless swimming and hassle-free eating, Aquilolamna had it all figured out. So what went wrong? Researchers suspect its reign ended with the big blackout of the Cretaceous Tertiary extinction, that catastrophic event that sent dinosaurs and tons of other species into the history books. But here's the fascinating part. Millions of years later, modern manta rays emerged like a distant echo of Aquilolamna, proving that good ideas never go out of style in evolution. So next time you see a manta ray gliding through the sea, think of Aquilolamna, the shark that dared to dream of wings and left a legacy still rippling through today's oceans. Now let's meet Pachyrhukos, the champion of prehistoric disguises. It's hard to believe this creature wasn't a rabbit, but nope, it was a notungulate, like the toxodon we talked about earlier, putting it closer to zebras than rabbits. Don't let its family tree fool you, though, because this imposter had all the rabbit trappings. A short, barely there tail, long hind legs primed for hopping, big teeth perfect for nibbling grass, and long, white ears. The only clue it wasn't a rabbit? Its oversized eyes, built for nighttime vision. So how did it end up so similar? It lived the same life as a rabbit, in the same grassy, hideout-filled neighborhoods, and nature said, if the rabbit design works, why switch it up? Think of marsupials, those mimicry artists who copy placental mammals despite their last common ancestor being over 140 million years in the rear view. The star example is the thylacine, the famous Tasmanian tiger, which, well, deserves its own shout-out in this story. What do you say we talk about the Tasmanian tiger, also known as the thylacine, a master of natural disguise? At first glance, you'd swear you were facing a wolf or an Australian dingo. Its skull was practically a carbon copy of those canids, with sharp teeth and a body that screamed predator. But here's the wild twist. Genetically, this imposter was closer to a wombat or a kangaroo than any wolf or dingo. The thylacine didn't have a drop of canid DNA in its veins. So how did it end up looking so much like them? The answer lies in that convergent evolution we kicked off with. Millions of years ago, back in the Jurassic when dinosaurs still ruled the planet, the thylacine and canids shared a distant ancestor. Then they each went their own evolutionary way. But somehow the pressures of the environment in Tasmania and Australia sculpted the thylacine into a stunt double for canids. The result was so spot on that even experts have to double take to avoid mixing them up. And here's the craziest part. Humans are more related to a dingo than the thylacine is to any dog breed. Scientists say this canid-like design wasn't a fluke. It was a brilliant solution to its habitat's challenges. If you had to hunt, run, and survive in a wild world, the wolf body was the winning blueprint, and the thylacine adopted it to become a successful predator. But hold up, there's another evolutionary champion design worth checking out. Turtles with their armored bodies and slow, steady gait. Nature decided they wouldn't be the only ones rocking that look. Millions of years ago, in the turbulent waters of the Middle and Late Triassic, swam the placodonts, extinct marine reptiles that could have been turtle stunt doubles. These placodonts belonged to the superorder Sauropterygia, a crew of marine reptiles that included plesiosaurs and nothosaurs. Some placodonts were a bit subtler in their resemblance, but others, like the Henodontidae, were practically prehistoric turtles. Picture turtle-like creatures with a sturdy shell, a plastron below and a carapace above, encasing their entire body like medieval armor, with only their head and tail peeking out. There was one catch, though. Their shell was more bony than those of modern turtles. Why all that armor? Because the Triassic seas were a hotbed of danger, teeming with big predators. Without that defense, they'd have been lunch for something larger and toothier. But it gets even wilder. Placodonts weren't alone in this imitation game. Other sauropterygians, like certain members of the group, evolved with shells and bodies strikingly similar to turtles. Yet neither the placodonts nor these sauropterygians were on the evolutionary path that led to today's turtles. Imagine for a second that these creatures hadn't gone extinct. We might be living in a world full of turtle-like critters, each with its own special twist, strolling through oceans and beaches. In evolution's grand parade, turtles have long-lost twin siblings who, though they're no longer with us, left their mark on history as proof that a good design transcends time and species. Nature, always keeping us on our toes. And to wrap things up, let's rewind 268 million years, before dinosaurs even existed, when the world was a totally different place. Enter Suminia, a reptile that decided to impersonate a monkey. No, it's not a lost primate ancestor or some evolutionary misfire. This little lizard was about the size of a modern monkey. What made it so special wasn't just its size, it evolved all on its own, a prehensile tail and opposable thumbs. Yep, that tail could grip branches like an extra hand, and those thumbs were perfect for grasping, just like ours. But wait, recent finds suggest it also had opposable toes. Picture this creature climbing trees in the Permian, swinging from branch to branch, all more than 200 million years before the first monkeys even hinted at showing up. Suminia lived high in the trees, using its skills to stay safe and well-fed. But don't expect it to have hunted prey with ferocity. Its teeth were nothing fancy. With no sharp canines, it had a dentition built for grinding leaves. Its hands, feet, and tail were its safety net, keeping it steady while it plucked vegetation. This reptile didn't just look like a monkey, it lived like one. Suminia is a standout example, but it's not alone. Take the giant panda, a bear that eats bamboo standing upright. Then there's Megatherium, a giant sloth that looked like a furry tank, or the bizarre Chalicotherium, a horse gorilla mashup. Even dinosaurs like Therizinosaurus with its horror movie claws joined the leaf-pulling club. All these creatures, unrelated to each other, evolved similar bodies and tools because their environments demanded the same thing: survive by eating plants in a wild world. So here's the big question. If nothing had gone extinct, would the world be that different? Convergent evolution teaches us that ecological niches are like molds. Doesn't matter who fills them, the result tends to look alike. So next time you see one of these animals, remember they had their prehistoric prototypes long ago. That's all for today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to support it with a like, subscribe, and turn on the little bell so you don't miss out on new content. Thanks for being part of this amazing community. See you soon in the next video.